Yo, welcome back to Brain and Smooth TV. Back at you with another review. We got The Matrix Resurrections. And before I even start my review slash recap, it's been a lot of people in the media kind of trashing the movie. But I think the true Matrix fans will understand where they were coming from. And I also like that throughout the movie, they kind of point out the fact that sometimes super fanatics can ruin franchises, or not ruin them, but their expectations are so high that you can't really please them. So we'll get into that. Now, the opening scene starts with Morpheus as an agent, I guess. And it starts with Bugs watching the old code, the original scene with Trinity, of course, beats up all them police officers' asses and moves around. Now, I love the name, and I'm pretty sure it's going to get a lot deeper because, when you talk about the Matrix, you got to get deep. Bugs, like a computer bug, is the person that's watching the older code. And the definition of bug when it comes to computers is a software bug is an error or, it's an error, flaw, or fault in a computer program or system that causes it to produce an incorrect or unexpected result or to behave in unintended ways. By definition, a bug is what happened in the first movie and what the whole franchise is about. And out of all the characters in the movie, even more than Keanu Reeves and Neo, Morpheus, and Trinity, I enjoyed Bug's character, and I hope that they expand her somehow in the franchise because I think that would be super dope. Now, Morpheus takes Bugs into Neo's old apartment, and Bugs sees Neo as a window washer initially, which kind of got her to wake up and knowing something wasn't real. When he looked at her, it kind of unlocked her mind, and I think that's when she starts seeking um, whoever initially pulled her out the Matrix. Now, later on in the movie, Niobe says she did help pull her out and knew something about that. Now, Morpheus seen the Matrix code, and he understood that the world was fake. And that's how he knew he had to go find Neo. And it's funny because we never really get, well, maybe we do, the super fans know, but we never really get a backstory of Morpheus. In the first movie, they all freed. So if this was initially how it happened with him, without him, being an agent, if that's how he got freed, that would be dope. Because we know the Oracle all told him their purposes, but it gets super, super deep. Now, Morpheus is a program, basically. That's what happened to him. Now, the real Morpheus we know passed away, but Morpheus and this is a program that was able to somehow escape the Matrix. And once he took that red pill, he knew exactly who he was. And I like his character in here. I'll get into it a little more, but they have him as kind of like he's like part of the machines outside in the real world, but inside the Matrix you get to see him kind of old school. And it's funny because of course they're playing on nostalgia, so throughout the movie he's trying to show stuff that Neo's familiar with. It gets crazy, and that's how they kind of got him in there. Speaking of Neo designed the Matrix video game, and that's what they got him believing, that the first three movies were just a video game. He's a video game designer, and that's it. And it was all fake. Um, as mentioned before, when Bug sees Neo is trying to quote unquote commit suicide or jump off a building and learn how to fly. And the reason he's doing that because he remembers actually doing it uh, in the Matrix and not the video game that the program said he created. Now, Neo's friend Jude introduces Tom. He don't introduce him. Yeah, he kind of does. He introduces Thomas, and we know Thomas Anderson is Neo, to Tiffany. Now, Tiffany is a character that is a mother. She has a husband, and she loves motorcycles. But we know her as Trinity from The Matrix. Now, as soon as Jude introduces Thomas to Tiffany, immediately the kids and the husband um, just come in with something random like, we gotta go, mom, late for this, blase, blase. And basically, it's the Matrix itself, or we'll learn later, the analyst, he used the kids and the husband as a distraction and not let them two connect. Jude even calls Trinity a MILF when she first walks into the cafe. So before we find out she even had children. And this Matrix different from the other one. The analyst explains that at the end, but The analyst, he basically has studied human soul, wears and knows about human emotion and human feelings. That's exactly what he plays off of. It gets real deep too. And I love this movie because people who don't understand this movie and think it's just a hack or a remake or not as good as the first one, you have to understand that this movie is a mirror on society today, just like The Matrix was back in 99 2000. Now, Neo and his boss have chemistry. His boss says Warner Brothers in the movie. I don't know if this is Lana Wachowski saying a big F you to the movie industry because it kind of is. And they talk about reboots and they talk about remakes and they talk about, Hollywood trying to just milk as much as they can out of a franchise. It may even be the reason we have this movie now is because they were pressured into making it or doing something they didn't want to do. So if that's the case, that would be super, super crazy. But hey, who knows? Now, when they were discussing what the Matrix is, that was a good scene. And I love they were going over all the things. It's about becoming woke. It's about somebody said, transphobia. It's about this. It's about that. And it seems like it's the same conversation that these movie studios have all the time. And it's funny that we kind of got like an inside light on that, got to be included because that's exactly what it's about. I knew it was probably 1,000 ideas for this movie before it came out. I just thought that was a very good scene, and it can actually be interpreted as everything they said. This movie can be interpreted in that scene and everything they said, and it could be nothing they said. Or overall, it's left up to your own interpretation. Now, with the second meeting with Neo and Trinity, the Matrix just finds a way once they start getting deep and getting reconnected, and they start believing that hey, this world ain't really the real world. Trinity, Tiffany at this time, she gets a she gets a call on the phone. One of her kids stuck Legos up their nose. And this just goes to show how far the analysts and the machines will go to keep these two people separated. Now, when Morpheus met back up with Neo at his job, and it's basically a play off of the first movie, of course, I love the callbacks. Some people don't like them. I do like the callbacks. Of course, we knew Neo. He had called Neo on the cell phone, but now he's texting Neo. And it goes to show 20, 25 years ago, we didn't even have cell phones like that. Y'all try to explain that to my kids, they don't understand it. But he's texting, and that shows that is the quickest way to have a conversation through chatting and texting. I thought that was dope. Now, again, when Morpheus met Neo at his job, he actually rejected the pill in the restroom the first time because it was almost too real. He knows he designed this video game, but elements in the video game actually come into life. Characters are coming to meet him in the real world. He thinks he's really, really losing his mind. And Neo's boss, once Morpheus came into the picture, that's when he actually turned into Agent Smith, we find out. So the machine and the architect basically made Agent Smith Neo's boss. And he comes into work every day. He does his job. He designs video games. He does graphic design, whatever he does. But it's weird that they're tormenting Neo by having his biggest adversary as his boss. But if you interpret the first Matrix, it's fan theories out there that say Agent Smith was actually the one. Go look into that. It's deep. As far as what they said the one was going to do, you can almost align it with Agent Smith did. A yin and yang. A good, a evil, a dark, a light, whatever you want to do. But Agent Smith completely broke out of the code of the Matrix. He broke out of the Matrix. He did whatever he wanted to. He also went into the real world in those series. So keep that in mind. Now, the analyst is code. So Neo's boss turned into Smith. And when he seen the gun, that's when he had a flashback and actually turned into Smith. He believed before. He believed Neo was a reverse of the first movie. So what's happening is he shot Neo, and Neo went back to the analyst immediately, and that kind of ended the whole scene. His quote unquote death actually brought Neo back into the analyst, which is his therapist, who's giving him all the blue pills we see in the commercial. So once he shot, he just like brought back into the real world, and then the analyst is basically saying, "Hey, you can lost your mind. What's going on? You having another nervous breakdown?" Now the analyst said Neo tried to fly and commit suicide, but Neo really didn't. Neo knew he could fly. He just couldn't do it in his construct. So Neo, after this, he tries to go and fly again. He gets real drunk. He knows something's weird. Morpheus then actually showed up in his real life, tried to get him to go back in the Matrix, and he jumps off the building, but Bugs saves him, and then Neo actually gets unplugged. And Neo goes to this big door, and they bring him back into the real world. Now, Bugs had a real interesting line when they were bringing Neo back into the real world. She said the machines use bots with human skin. That's some eerie ass shit, y'all. I know y'all been reading the reports. For $250,000, they'll pay you right now 200 grand plus to have your likeness and basically you as a person loaded onto a robot. We know about the chips. We know about a lot of things that technology, even from this last movie, the original movie up until now, has actually come. I don't know if I don't want to get flagged, but I've heard stories about MK Ultra. Being replaced is a trend that's going on in movies in the world. And it's like, especially with the metaverse about to pop off, it's like the Matrix itself is gonna be the metaverse. Like it's gonna be real, where people are spending the majority of the day. They already do in the computers, their phones, devices, websites, apps. But now people are gonna be plugged in for the majority of the day. And I think the metaverse is gonna somehow find a way to incorporate regular jobs. If you work in a computer job, you'll be able to stay in and plugged in all the time. That's gonna be crazy. But when Bug said the machines use bots with human skin, I start getting goosebumps in the back of my arms. This is gonna be a long review, semi long, because I gotta break it down, y'all. The Matrix is crazy. Now they don't have to use any more phone booths. Remember in the first movies they had to get to a phone booth to get back into the real world. Now the movie shows the advancement in technology, and I definitely appreciate it. It does take a master director to show all of the advancements in technology that we've had. Example: Morpheus texts Neo instead of calling him in that office. And I don't remember texting nobody. I remember we used to clown text messages when they first started. Now they're so popular, you would just think it was always that way. Now, once Neo gets back into the real world, 20 years, I believe they said, had passed in the Matrix, but 60 years had passed in the real world. And it's weird because since this big chunk of time has changed, a lot of change in and outside of the Matrix. It seems like from when Neo's seen in the scene we seen in the trailer where he's in the elevator, everybody's on their phone. Even more humans are plugged into the Matrix. That's what we see more of the little pods of goo when he goes into the real world. And symbolism, the symbolism of today, everybody is in their phones or on social media, probably if it's 24 hours in a day and you got to sleep 8 and you got to go to work the other 8, they're in there probably 8 to 10 hours at minimum a day. And we find out when he goes back to the Matrix that the humans are working with the machines. Now, Morpheus said not all machines want to control, and I thought that was a good line because Neil was asking, why are they here? They only destroy us. But Morpheus said not all machines want to destroy, just like not all humans want to be unplugged. That was a deep line, I thought, too. And that brings us to General Niobe, played by Jada Pickett. Naomi is now the general of Io, and Zion looked like it got destroyed. They had to move, and now they went to Io. Io is a community, she explained, that was built by the machines and them. And they're growing organic fruit from machines. When when I seen that, I don't know in my head, y'all, all I start thinking about was GMOs. Look up GMOs, you know what I'm talking about. Morpheus was elected, we found out, the high chair of the council. But remember, Neo's been gone for over 60 years, so Morpheus must have passed. And that's what I was trying to figure out in my head, because I'm like, okay, they had Morpheus as an agent at the beginning of the movie. and then he had to take a pill, get unplugged, and then once he came into the real world, he was still a machine. But I guess he was still a machine because he was an agent initially. Well, not initially, but in this movie, I'm about to look into that and do a whole another breakdown of that. Now, out of all the new characters, I just want to bring this up. Bugs is the best new character to me. Uh, all of the new clothes and the fashion they had was on point. I thought for the most part, people was talking about Morpheus is dressing too colorful. This ain't Morpheus though. And you know, they pay homage the best they can. They got a 100-foot statue of the dude. What more do you want? Now, could Lawrence Fishburne pull back up and maybe a sequel if they offer enough money and Hugo Weaving come back and play Agent Smith? They could. But with this new direction, I don't think they need to. And what could potentially happen by the end of this trilogy may have, I don't want to say a new, because when you say new, people get mad, but a younger Morpheus and a younger Trinity. We'll see. That's a possibility. Now, getting back to the movie. I love how they discuss the theories between Neo and Agent Smith. They had quick conversations throughout the whole movie, and their back and forths are real good because with Agent Smith, he's not necessarily after Neo, but he knows Neo has to die because he's trying to get a hold of the analyst. And all I seen was a revenge plot. He wants to get a hold of the analyst because the analyst that held him in this matrix and made him be Neo's boss. And basically, they were tormenting each other the whole time. Um, the Exiles and the Merovingian came back talking that French shit. I thought that was dope. From The Matrix Reloaded. I'm glad they were still alive, and they seemed like they were living like as bums, like some nomads, just kind of traveling around the Matrix, just trying to survive. You remember when we seen the Merovingian in the second, when he was creased up with the bad chick, money, wealth, power. You know what I'm saying? Sitting up in mansions, had them two white boy twins with the dreads, was ghosts running around fucking people up. But now he's back, and he vowed at the end of this fight that he's gonna get revenge on Neo as soon as he see him for what he did. Now, I don't think the fighting scenes were bad. I don't think they were as good as the first and second movie. Um, to me, the only thing they were so it was a lot of close up shots. Maybe it was almost too close up to me because I couldn't. It didn't feel like I got the full range of. That's the only thing that felt like it was shot up too close. It was a personal critique. Maybe it's just nitpicking, but the fight scenes to me were not as good as the other ones, and they did a lot of callbacks. I understood why they did the callbacks, but it didn't hit. It didn't hit like the Bane fighting Batman in The Dark Knight Rises was a better fight to me than a lot of these fight scenes. We'll get into that later. Also, just another small, not a nitpick, Neo's push move, and I guess they had to add something new because they talk about bullet time throughout the whole movie. They said it was the biggest thing out of the franchise, which it was, the most copied thing in movies and media that you see. So they got Neo with this like telekinetic push move that he can do. It's just overused, and it gets to a point in the movie you keep looking like, God damn, how many times are they gonna use this? Yeah. Now the analyst, we find out when he sits down and have a conversation, he actually rebuilt Neo, and he found out that Trinity with Neo was the actual key. He tried to explain that Neo by himself wasn't nothing, but of course him following Trinity, going into the Matrix, taking the pill, then falling in love, him making the ultimate decision of whether save the Matrix or her. I love how they put that together. Some people hate it and they talking about it's woke and it's about females. No, dude, this was a beautiful fucking love story. And it's power when you find your right mate. And I like that he found. What happened is the analyst found out that after he rebuilt Neo's body, because Neo was already dead, but they rebuilt Neo's body and resurrected him. But he found out it didn't really do nothing by itself. He was trying to figure out Neo's source code since he was the anomaly. Then we end up finding out that it was Trinity that basically was the spark plug to his whatever. It was the Trinity's like the battery. And he found out that when they were close together, that's what sparked the anomaly, sparked the oneness, sparked whatever. I love, to me, I got it, the Unk, which is the the male representation and the female representation alike combining, the phallus entering the womb to give life to give new life. See, I took this movie like that. I was like, if you look at it like that, this is deep. And them together, which is created the new life, created the new matrix, whatever you want to do. So that was dope. And the analyst also said he found out the more that Neo was actually tormented, the more energy that he puts off and makes for the machines. So it made sense for the machines to keep Neo alive. They can power a lot more brain dead bodies, you know what I'm saying, and cipher a lot more energy they can use for their stuff from Neo. And the more he tormented them, like I said, the more energy he put off. So having Neo, they were assholes. The machines are dicks. The machines are dicks because they put him back into the Matrix. They have him as the CEO of a video game that's fake that he created, even though he kind of still knows it's real. And then they made his biggest adversary his boss. Like, you don't get more assholes than that. But the reason the analyst did that to me was to manipulate Neo and manipulate Trinity, so they can let off more energy and, of course, get them more power to do what they do. Now, I love the line that the analyst said. And quick question. I mean, quick. Look, the analyst is Neil Patrick Harris. He did a good job. I love the shit he was talking. I love when he said we got to give the sheep what they want, the sheeple what they want. That was another jab at the movies, jab at the industry, jab at everything. Just give people what they want and they'll be silent and docile. So NPH did a good job. I don't know what you're talking about. Now, great scene. Um, it was a good callback too, and I had to notice this the second time I watched it. Remember, Niobe was the one that actually in the Matrix Reloaded, she was the one that said, "I'll volunteer and go, and y'all can take my ship for y'all dangerous mission that y'all got to do." When Neo had to go back into the Matrix, when he met the architect, and they had to figure out who he's gonna save, blase blase. She was the only one to step up. But the great scene was when all the pilots stepped up to volunteer for General Niobe's mission. That was a good callback, and there's so many of these in the movie I can't name them all, y'all. But that was one I noticed. I thought that was dope. And then towards the end of the movie, we know that Neo goes back into the Matrix. Trinity is free, and her and Neo end up becoming the ones. Or is it a one? It was never a one. And I don't think it retcons the old movies. The old movies are good, but what it did to me, because people say this didn't add nothing to the old movies, it kind of did. If you look at this movie in comparison to the other three, to me, it put them all together in a whole. Neo and Trinity sharing that magnificent godlike power was dope. The conversation they had with the analysts at the end of the movie was dope. And overall, to me, what this does is plays good homage to the other three movies because it don't take nothing away. But what it does is set up a new Matrix, and I like that we got the new characters because now I think we can interchange them. Also, with Trinity having that much power, they're gonna be able to unplug more minds. They're gonna be able to basically double up and do it bigger than they ever did. So the criticism that the Matrix got, I think this is a movie that you have to watch twice. You can't watch this movie once and then have an opinion about it. Sit back. You might gotta watch the old ones and watch it again because the way this movie was put together, stylistically wise, the guns, the action, the crazy shots, the slow mo, it was dope. Check out the Matrix Resurrections. One of the best movies I think I've seen this year. Of course, me being a super Matrix fan. Of course, I will be back at you with another one in the future. Peace.